Good evening. A terrorist has struck at the heart of London in an evil rampage that claimed 4 innocent lives, 3 of them mown down by his car on Westminster Bridge. The killer then stabbed a police officer in the shadows of Big Ben before he was gunned down. An Australian is among the injured. Our team of reporters has the latest on the investigation live from London. Also, the global political fallout and security here at home. First, Max Futcher on a day that shook Britain to its core.
A trail of terrible injury across Westminster Bridge. Casualties scattered where they fell, bystanders trying to help. One of London's busiest tourist draw cards transformed into a field hospital. And here, dressed in black, mortally wounded, is the man responsible. He crashed his SUV into Parliament's fence opposite Westminster Tube Station near Big Ben. Armed with a knife, he jumped out and ran around the corner to the entrance gates where he fatally stabbed a policeman before being shot dead by the guard's colleagues. The officer was Constable Keith Palmer, a 48-year-old father of 2. Panicked tourists ran for their lives as gunshots rang out.
We heard gunshots, what we thought was gunshots.
Bang, bang, twice. People was running like mad.
Here, Foreign Office Minister Tobias Ellwood applies CPR to the officer. Nearby lay the weapon, a Bowie knife. But there was more carnage in the terrorists' wake. Dozens of pedestrians deliberately mown down on Westminster Bridge. Among them, 3 police officers walking back from a commendation ceremony and a group of French students. 3 were badly injured.
The car hit 3 children.
Yes. This video shows a woman falling into the River Thames. Badly injured, she was quickly rescued by a police boat crew. It's not clear if she was struck or jumped for her life.
What was it like for you to see that, mate?
It was shocking.
One of the victims is Patricia Niesbier, a cafe worker from Stirling in South Australia.
Including a woman who resided in South Australia.
She's in hospital after foot surgery and is expected to make a full recovery. A rescue helicopter landed in Parliament Square Garden to airlift victims to hospital, most with multiple fractures and head wounds. Off-duty doctors rushed to help, one finding a man with a broken leg and
a big head injury, big massive laceration to his head.
We've now been pushed further back from Westminster Bridge. The Parliament was sitting when the attack began. MPs were locked inside the House of Commons and the Prime Minister was evacuated.
This House is now suspended, but please wait here.
Theresa May was quickly escorted back to 10 Downing Street for an emergency meeting of the government's Cobra Security Committee, vowing Britain will not be cowed.
Never giving in to terror and never allowing the voices of hate and evil to drive us apart.
Police sealed off the parliamentary precinct. Bystanders pushed back beyond the exclusion zone.
Get under cover now! Get under cover!
Labor MP Mary Creagh was caught in the rush.
As I walked towards New Palace Yard, I was met with a crowd of people running towards me, shouting, "Shots have been fired, get out, get out."
Police in no doubt as to the nature of the attack.
As you know, we've declared this as a terrorist incident.
They believe the attacker acted alone. He crossed from the south side in a Hyundai SUV, swerving onto the western footpath, slamming into the Parliament's iron fence just beyond the Tower of Big Ben, then ran to the front gates where he stabbed Constable Palmer before being shot.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to all who have been affected, to the victims themselves and their family and friends who waved their loved ones off but will not now be welcoming them home.
In London, Max Futcher, 7 News.
The area targeted in the attack is among the most popular parts of London with tourists. Kath Turner joins us now. And Kath, it's a part of the capital Australian visitors know well.
That's right, Peter, and so far the Department of Foreign Affairs has not upgraded its travel warning for Australians travelling here to the UK in the wake of the attack, but it is urging visitors to remain cautious and vigilant. The British Prime Minister said that the targeting of the British Parliament was no accident, but for many people caught up in this terrorist attack, they had nothing to do with Westminster. This area is filled with famous landmarks and tourist attractions, and for hundreds of people, their sightseeing adventure turned into a nightmare. High above the attack, hundreds of tourists stranded on the London Eye. They were trapped for hours, watching the horrific scene play out below.
We looked on the bridge and realised things were stopped and there were a lot of people running. And then we realised there must be something going on.
It was very scary up there. I never saw that my whole life before.
It unfolded in the shadow of Big Ben and just steps from major attractions. This was an attack aimed at terrorising not just Londoners, but also those visiting from around the world.
We just passed a group of Chinese tourists taking a photograph of the Big Ben, and then suddenly I heard a crunch of a metal against a curb. I saw people being hit. Korean tourists and French students were among the injured. At Westminster, school groups were escorted from the building by police. Their teachers led sing-alongs to keep the primary students calm while they waited for the Parliament lockdown to be lifted. They weren't the only ones with frayed nerves, as the heart of the city was thrown into chaos.
We literally just crossed the bridge. If it hadn't been for a point, then that could have been us.
Travel plans had to be abandoned in the unfolding emergency.
We were at the aquarium when it happened, and we were on lockdown for like 2.5 or 3 hours, maybe 2.5 hours. They held us there.
Security has now been beefed up, with the capital once again on high alert.
As a precautionary measure, over the next few days, we've increased the number of officers on duty, armed and unarmed, to provide a highly visible, reassuring presence. This will continue for as long as is necessary.
London's mayor promising his city is secure and steadfast in the face of fear.
I want to reassure all Londoners and all our visitors not to be alarmed. Our city remains one of the safest in the world. London is the greatest city in the world, and we stand together in the face of those who seek to harm us and destroy our way of life.
In London, Kath Turner, 7 News.
Prime Minister Theresa May echoed Winston Churchill when she said Britain would never give in to terrorists. Max Futcher is in London this evening also. Max, have police identified the attacker yet?
No, Peter. They tell us that they do know his identity, but they're not going to name him publicly just yet. It's been reported that the vehicle he used to cause such carnage, that silver Hyundai, was hired from an agency in Birmingham last week. Now, also in Birmingham overnight, local time, heavily armed police have raided a flat above some shops. A cordon was established. And in just the past few minutes, the Reuters news agency is reporting that 3 arrests have been made in Birmingham. Now, inquiries to local police up there have been directed to Scotland Yard. Scotland Yard here in London says it's an operational matter and there's no further comment at this time.
And the Prime Minister has described the attack in London as an assault on every democracy and every free nation. Security was stepped up around Parliament House to coincide with a visit by a senior Chinese politician.
Welcoming the Chinese Premier, security was already tight and about to get tighter.
There will be an increase in the police presence at Parliament House here in Canberra today.
Malcolm Turnbull's voice ringing with a determination tinged with anger.
This is an assault on every democracy, every parliament, every free nation. We condemn it and we stand in absolutely resolute solidarity with the people of Britain.
A sentiment shared by both sides.
The terrorists should know wherever they are that they'll never divide this country.
Endorsed by the Chinese Premier Li Keqiang.
Together we condemn terrorism.
The one exception to the sombre tone, One Nation leader Pauline Hanson. She's using the attack to renew her call for a ban on Muslim immigration.
People are feeling sorry for these people over there, and I've seen the hashtags Pray for London.
Revealing her own hashtag.
It's Pray for Muslim Ban. That is how you solve the problem. Put a ban on it.
As the British High Commissioner, Mina Rawlings, is welcomed onto the floor of the Parliament.
Your Excellency, you have our full sympathy, solidarity and support.
Today, Australia offers our oldest friend our deepest sympathies.
People back in the UK know the support they're getting from all of our friends and colleagues here in Australia.
A support displayed in words and something more powerful than any word. Silence. Mark Riley, 7 News.
As news of the attack broke, Foreign Affairs ministers, including Julie Bishop, were holding high-level terrorism talks in Washington. US correspondent Ashley Mullaney joins us now. And Ashley, the timing here was chilling.
It certainly was, Peter. It's the threat of IS and lone wolf attacks that brought these ministers together here in Washington today. There had only been 2 speeches and a media call to show a united front when the mood quickly changed. Today's attack, a disturbing reminder for world leaders of the enemy now at their front door. As foreign ministers arrived to plot an IS defeat, Julie Bishop noticed one was missing from the class photo. Britain's Boris Johnson had just learned his country was under attack again.
He reported on the attack to our meeting and he was clearly visibly upset by it, as we all were.
Less than 2 hours earlier, the global meeting of 68 nations began with no hint of trouble to come, just an ominous warning about homegrown terror.
ISIS's new call has become, and I quote, "Stay where you are, wage war in Daesh's name, wherever you live."
But as he spoke with Secretary Johnson listening in, a reported lone wolf was unleashing terror in London. US President Donald Trump was briefed across the day.
Sorry, we're just getting an update on London. They were having some big news having to do with London, so it just happened.
The City of London and Her Majesty's government have the full support of the US government in responding to the attack and bringing those to justice who are responsible.
This was the first major meeting of foreign ministers hosted by the Trump administration, and while the new government is pledging to destroy Islamic State, it's yet to spell out exactly how. In Washington, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.